Hey guys, glad you could join me for today's video. In this video, I'll go through the talent setups that are the most common for Shaman tanking. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first talent setup is 16.35.0, the advised talent setup for someone starting to Shaman tank for the first time. It's also ideal for dungeon tanking. But, as you get familiar with tanking, you'll be able to enter dungeons with any type of talent setup. Familiarity will pay off since many players who are, for example, Shaman healing for their guild can still dungeon tank without having to use gold to change their talents around. However, I would still recommend having tanking gear in your bags, just in case the group you're in is showing signs of incompetence. This setup also offers consistent threat per second in terms of raid tanking and excels on short boss fights. The first notable talent is shield specialization, and the reason we go this over ancestral knowledge is because in the grand scheme of things, ancestral knowledge provides very little mana and shield specialization is much better in comparison. It might not look like it, but shield specialization is a scalable talent because of the amount of gear out there that has defense on it. Defense, for those who are unaware, increases block chance. We don't intentionally seek out defense, it just happens to be on gear that has stats that we actually do seek out, such as armor and stamina. Next is two-handed axes and maces. Indeed, Shaman two-hand tanking is a thing. It's our version of dual-wield fury tanking, if you will, and similarly, we can't always be rocking the best weapon for threat, unless we're reassured we won't take lethal amounts of incoming damage. For dungeon tanking, sure, go crazy, as long as you pay attention and can swap to a one-hander and a shield at a moment's notice, you're fine. But raid tanking is a whole different ballgame. If you don't have a two-handed weapon or are already struggling with your survival, by all means put this talent point in anticipation. All the other talents in the enhancement tree are quite straightforward. We get flurry to increase our attack speed, which increases our threat. We get anticipation, which bolsters our defensive notions. The next notable talent is Stormstrike, the crowning jewel of the enhancement talent tree. I highly suggest picking it up, as it's an extra spell on your action bars you can use to generate threat. I should point out it does consume a fair bit of mana, so be sure you don't needlessly use it unless you desperately need more threat. Moving on to the elemental tree, Concussion will improve the damage of our primary threat-inducing spell, Earthshock. Lastly is Elemental Focus, which will give us the opportunity to get a free Earthshock. This talent is one of the reasons we cast Lightning Bolt or Chained Lightning at the start of a fight. The next talent setup is 21.30.0, and it is not for the faint of heart. It will demand you bring your A game, but in return, it yields really good threat, especially on long boss fights. However, you'll need all appropriate consumables, proper gear, Nat Pagel, world buffs, you get the idea. Alright, now for the talent setup breakdown. As you can see, we only have 1 point in toughness, so that should tell you something about how prepared you should be defensively to compensate for it. And next is the coup de grace. Stormstrike was not taken. Oh my god. This results in less mana being used, making the setup very mana friendly. But don't worry, we'll get a talent later on that will increase our threat. Although Stormstrike is gone, there can always be another Shaman who can supply the Stormstrike debuff. Moving on to the Elemental tree, Elemental Devastation was picked. This will cause bonus melee critical strike chance when we crit with Earthshock. And finally, the crowning jewel of the entire talent setup, Elemental Fury, which will cause our Earthshocks to hit like a truck. However, it won't always happen, but when it does, there's no better feeling in the world. Thanks for watching, I hope you guys liked the video, I liked making it. Anyway guys, keep it fresh and exciting out there, and I'll catch you next time.